Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe sounds crazy on paper, and it kind of is in practice too, but not in a good way. I originally played it when this came out in 2008, and I haven't touched it since. It's definitely not as good as I remember. It feels cheap. This was Midway's last MK game before they got sold and became NetherRealm Studios. Midway were really struggling for money at this point and must have thought crossing over a big franchise like DC would bring in lots of new customers. Or someone really want to see Batman get killed in a bunch of different ways. It's such a strange choice for a crossover. DC heroes are famous for not killing, so let's pair them up with characters that are notorious for killing each other in the most brutal ways possible. Enough pre-ramble, how did this game turn out? I'll start with the gameplay and talk about the story towards the end of the video. It's just okay. This is a traditional 1v1 3D fighter which took some getting used to after just playing the newer games, which went back to a 2D fighting style. I would press up to jump and instead I step into the background. I'm struggling to find stuff to say about the core fighting, it's very basic. Every character gets some combos and special moves they can perform. The special moves really suit the characters, like Batman gets batarangs, Superman gets his heat vision, and Sub-Zero can freeze people. Super moves are simple enough to perform, most only take 3 buttons. This game has a couple of unique gimmicks to set it apart from the previous MK games, like the Rage meter, which when filled can give you a damage bonus and incoming attacks don't stagger you for about 5 seconds. There is also close combat, which I wasn't a fan of. At any point you can grab your opponent and be taken into a little minigame where you both have to press one of the face buttons, A, B, X or Y. If you press a different button to your opponent, you get to hit them. If your opponent presses the same button as you, they can counter and get out of the minigame. Or it's the same if they grab you. The max you can hit someone is 4 times, you can do up to 25% damage. My issue is way too much damage for something that's luck based. There is a bit of skill where you can see what your opponent has pressed, and if you're quick enough you can press it as well to counter. But you have to be really quick or really lucky. This is especially true against the AI, I swear they're reading the button inputs sometimes. I also don't like how you can just trigger this close combat as often as you want. I don't think there is a cap on it like once a round. Lastly, there is free fall combat. This is the same as close combat, but is triggered when you are close to the edge of the stage and land a hit on your opponent. You'll then hit your opponent off the stage and begin falling with them. You will have the same minigame as before, but this time when your opponent counters, they will end up on top. The person on top by the time you hit the ground will have dealt the damage. I prefer this to close combat because this will probably only happen once per fight, if at all. There's also a little bit more strategy. If you deal enough damage you can end the minigame early by performing a super. You won't deal the maximum amount of damage you could have if you press it early, but you're guaranteed to win the minigame. Or you can just hold off on using it and risk your opponent countering you and doing the super on you. You can also risk not hitting your opponent, you won't deal much damage, but you definitely won't take any either. It's a nice bit of risk and reward. It also looks cool in the moment. This must be what inspired a similar mechanic in Injustice. Not being able to make moves appear whilst you are fighting or when you pause was a bit of a problem for me. I don't know how I used to do this as a kid. You really have to memorise the moves or practice a bunch so they become second memory. It's not a gripe against the game, this is how fighting games used to be. I used to be better at remembering the moves. Now I'm just so used to the newer games. There is not even a tutorial in this game, just a practice mode. Because of this I only ended up learning 1 or 2 special moves, and a few combos for each character. If I was going to play this game for longer I would have bothered to actually learn more moves, but there is not a lot here to keep me engaged. There's the story mode, arcade and combo challenges, that's it. No crypt, no tag mode and nothing to unlock. No extra costumes or artwork. This leads to the game feeling really bare bones. The arcade endings don't help with this fact. It's a single image accompanied by like 3 sentences. They're very underwhelming. Most aren't good and don't really factor in that this is a crossover. Like Superman's ending is just he gets a new suit to protect from magic from Captain Marvel. Like wow. There is already magic in the DC universe, so why didn't he do this sooner? Or Catwoman's ending is she can now turn into a panther. That's it. I really wish these characters were more affected by crossing with the other universe, but the endings don't really display that. The best ending in my opinion is Sub-Zero's. He gets inspired by Batman to become a vigilante. Like that's kinda cool and relates to the fact that he met Batman. I just don't feel like they got very creative with the endings. It's not like they were going to get followed up in a sequel, so why not go nuts with them? I'm also not a fan of MK's style being toned down. There is a lack of blood and gore because of the lower age rating compared to the usual 18 plus MK normally gets. I get there is no way they were going to let Batman or Superman get all their limbs torn off. I'm actually surprised you can perform fatalities on them at all. Sure they aren't as brutal, but they can still get killed. The lack of fatalities for the DC heroes makes sense. They get heroic brutalities instead, which just come across as goofy. Like just look at Superman pound somebody into the ground. The roster is very good, almost everyone you would expect to be here is here. Scorpion, Raiden, Batman and Superman. I like how they weren't afraid to put in some villains as well. but there are some glaring omissions like Johnny Cage or Cyborg. Like, how did Catwoman and Deathstroke get picked over Green Arrow and Martian Manhunter? They all have really good designs as well, everyone looks recognisable. The DC characters are all in their iconic outfits, which I'm happy about. It would have been a shame if they were all wearing costumes specific to 2008, it would have made them feel dated. The MK outfits are very good as well, they all look similar to how they would look in MK9. Plus we got that old school sex appeal, whoop whoop! Is that outfit impractical for a Special Forces operator Sonya? Yes, but boobs. Good point. The only issue you might have with the roster is how would somebody like Catwoman beat Superman? This kinda gets explained in a story mode, and it's a bit better than Justice's green pills make you stronger explanation, but it's still not very good. Energy is shifting because the universes are colliding, so some characters are stronger now, you just have to go with it. Graphically the game looks decent for the time, but a bit dated by today's standards. Character models and animations look stiff. Stages look alright, they're just not super creative. Like, I wouldn't say Gotham looks any different to any other city, other than the fact there's a bit of Joker graffiti on the wall. The most interesting stages are the ones where two areas are merging, but there's not a lot of these. The music fixed the game well, but it's a bit generic. There's nothing too crazy here. The voice acting is fine, but there are a few bad deliveries here and there. Batman doesn't sound very good in my opinion. The Joker's voice actor is the obvious standout. I get why they brought him back to reprise his role in the Injustice games. Finally, let's cover the story mode. The basic setup is MK and DC worlds merging, causing everyone to be infected by the Rage, leading to everyone clashing with each other. The story is told from two different campaigns, one for MK and one for DC. You have to play through both to get the full story. Characters will go off to do one thing in one campaign, and you'll have to play the other one to see what happened. It's a neat way of doing things, but just making one campaign where you swap between DC and MK characters would have probably worked better. This was the first time this type of story mode was done for the franchise. I had a few complaints about how they work when I covered MK1. Like how you know the character you were playing as is going to win the next 4 fights because you were playing as them. Or how they have to come up with reasons for the character to end up in 4 fights in a row. I still have these complaints, but as this was their first attempt, I won't be as harsh on them. The story mode is really short, each campaign takes under 2 hours to beat. I didn't find the actual story very good. It is way too serious considering how ridiculous the crossover is. All of the problems could be solved if the characters just talk to each other. Plenty of dumb decisions get made throughout the story, which we will go over. My biggest issue is that they took the verses from the title way too literally. The MK and DC characters don't really interact with each other unless they are fighting. The whole point of a crossover like this is to see characters talk to each other. Like Raiden and Captain Marvel both have lightning powers, but never talk about it. Lex Luthor and Quan Chi are both villains, but don't work together at any point. There's just a lot of missed potential here. They're here to fight each other and that's it. I would honestly love another crossover game now that they've worked on the Injustice games and get the characters better. Imagine Batman teaming up with the ninjas, it could be sick. Anyway, I'm going to break down the story like I did with MK1. So there will be spoilers from here, but there's not a lot to spoil. Go to this timecode if you want to see the rankings. Let's start with MK's story. The story seems to take place after MK3, if I had to guess. Shao Kahn's invasion of Earthrealm has failed. We open with Raiden confronting a defeated Shao Kahn and Quan Chi. Quan Chi opens a portal to flee and gets stopped by Shao Kahn. Raiden shoots electricity at Shao Kahn, who stumbles into the portal. This is what triggers the DC world to start merging, because Superman does this the same time as Darkseid in his universe. Right off the bat, this is disappointing. All of the things that could have brought these two worlds together, and this is it. Like, we could have had Quan Chi getting contacted by Lex because they were both experimenting around with other dimensions, and they were secretly working together. But instead it's triggered by an accident. Raiden then takes Quan Chi to be judged by the Elder Gods. Keep this in mind for later. We then cut to Katana asking Liu Kang to investigate people who have been disappearing. They think the Lin Kuei is involved or the Black Dragon. Katana is going to contact Sonya about the Black Dragon, whilst Liu Kang is going to track down Sub-Zero, the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei. He then finds him in a random graveyard somehow. After beating Sub-Zero, he explains that his people have also gone missing. They agree to work together but are interrupted by Scorpion. You know, I didn't realise how much I missed Angry Spectre Scorpion. After beating him, Scorpion's eyes start to glow yellow. He's then replaced by the Flash. Liu Kang's immediately like, this has to be Shang Tsung, and starts fighting him. Like, let the guy talk first, Liu. After beating the Flash, Liu Kang is like, he hasn't changed back. I guess I just beat up an innocent man. He takes him back to the temple and contacts Sonya. She tries to make a portal for him, but it's not working. She gets jumped by Catwoman but manages to beat her. Somehow she walks all the way there because apparently everything's next door and finds Baraka just chilling instead. Because Baraka is in Earthrealm, she thinks this means Outworld has invaded, and walks to Raiden's temple to inform him. Is everything in walking distance? Captain Marvel and Green Lantern are here, they have a quick fight, instead of talking because of the rage. Sonya manages to beat them, but they escape. Jax appears a second too late. Sonya now has the rage and sees him as Kano, so they fight. Raiden shows up to snap her out of it. He has Liu Kang with him. He just rescued him from the Justice League space base, the Watchtower. Raiden has figured out the worlds are merging. Jax and Sonya walk back to their base so they can portal to the Watchtower. Jax has a quick fight with Lex after he's interested in the portal. Whilst in the Watchtower, instead of sneaking around, Jax just runs out and punches a poor man in the head, and he goes flying, alerting the base and leading to a fight with Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman. She has Sub-Zero captured. Jax frees him so he can go find Quan Chi. Sub-Zero heads to Raiden to get Quan Chi's location. Why can't Jax just radio for the location and tell Sub-Zero where it is? So Raiden can have a quick fight with him. Raiden doesn't even tell him anything useful. He says if you want to find Quan Chi, look for Scorpion. How is that useful, Raiden? He doesn't even say where Scorpion is. Sub-Zero then walks to Gotham City. How fucking close are these places? Then he walks straight into the Batcave. Where are your defences, Batman? Whilst there, Scorpion pulls Sub-Zero into a portal to the Netherrealm, where Quan Chi is imprisoned. Sub-Zero and Scorpion have a fight in front of him, which causes a universe crack to appear and free Quan Chi, which was his plan all along. It feels like it was more of a happy accident than a plan, but okay. Quan Chi tells Scorpion to find the princess. Scorpion gets teleported to Gotham and fights the Joker. After beating him, he teleports away. Lex approaches the Joker to join his team. Scorpion then teleports to Themyscira. Why did he go to Gotham at all if he can do this? He runs into Wonder Woman and says, I seek the princess. Wonder Woman's like, I'm a princess. At this point I was thinking, does he know what princess he's even looking for? He beats her and is like, the princess isn't here. Why did you think she was? Where did you think she would be? He then teleports to Metropolis. Is he just trying out random places and hoping he gets lucky? After beating Superman, Katana just appears and says, I knew Darkhan would have sent you. She is completely consumed by the rage. What the fuck is she actually doing in a random street in Metropolis? Quan Chi shows up and takes Katana to Raiden. Quan Chi removes Katana's rage, so Raiden will trust him. Katana tells everyone about Darkhan, who wants everyone to fight so the worlds can merge faster. Everyone agrees to work together to stop Darkhan. Shao Tsung gets a chapter where, if I'm honest, not a lot happens. He just beats up everyone. He goes to the Fortress of Solitude to beat up Superman and Green Lantern, then leaves. Once back with everyone, Jack tells the gang that the DC crew used the portal to head to Outworld. The gang teleports there, but it's all missing and just bits of pieces floating in space. This is what will happen to Earth if they don't defeat Darkhan. They see the DC crew are also here, and instead of talking, they fight. This is where the game feels really cheap. The fights are shown through a slideshow. Eventually, only Raiden and Superman are left. After fighting each other, Darkhan appears. This is where they realise the other teams don't work for him. So instead of fighting each other, they decide to fight Darkhan. Once defeated, Darkhan inflates and explodes. Immediately, the worlds start merging. Another missed opportunity to have both sides talk before they go back to their own world. But plot twist, it turns out Darkseid is stuck in the MK world. Raiden takes him to be judged by the Elder Gods, like from the start of the game. Darkseid is then trapped where Quan Chi was. So yeah, this wasn't the best story. Let's see if DC's campaign's any better. It's not. This campaign opens up in Metropolis. Darkseid has failed to invade Earth. Darkseid tries to escape through a boom tube. Superman shoots him with his laser eyes, disabling the boom tube. We then play as the Flash, who has a fight with Deathstroke. The Flash obviously wins this because I don't understand how he could possibly lose a fight, he's so fucking fast. Flash heads to Gotham, but doesn't tie up Deathstroke or take him to jail, so he gets up. What are you doing, Flash? He then has a run-in with Catwoman, Kano and Batman, but is affected by the rage. He manages to beat them all. Flash is about to kill Batman. Flash says, I thought you were a master at hand-to-hand combat. Then Batman tases him like, I am. Like, no Batman, you used a taser, which the Flash should have seen coming. Batman takes him to the Batcave. Flash explains he was overcome with the rage. Then the Flash eyes start to glow yellow and he turns into Scorpion. Batman beats him and sees an energy reading similar to Scorpion's in Gotham, so he chucks Scorpion in his car. Whilst driving, Joker throws an explosive on the Batmobile. Batman knocks it off and says, I don't have time for this, then proceeds to have time for this. He then fights the Joker. Liu Kang then appears, screaming in a yellow flame. Batman tells the Joker to stay where he is. He doesn't even put bat cuffs on him. Liu Kang then gets the rage and fights Batman. Batman wins, but Joker and Scorpion have escaped because Batman didn't lock his car doors. He then takes Liu Kang to the Watchtower. Raiden appears to save Liu Kang. Batman kind of just watches this happen. Batman looks really fucking stupid in this chapter. Next we play as Wonder Woman, who is looking for Superman. She has a quick fight with Shang Tsung and then heads to that one street in Metropolis where everything takes place. The same fires are still burning in the background. Katana appears for a pole, then promptly leaves once beat. They then think maybe Superman is at his base. Why was this not your first thought, guys? Sub-Zero is there and has frozen Superman in a cube of ice. She frees Superman and ties up Sub-Zero. She is smarter than both Batman and the Flash for doing this. She takes him to the Watchtower. Captain Marvel is there but is overcome with the rage, so she beats him up. Next we play as Green Lantern, who gets the lowdown on what's happening from his bosses. Lex and Catwoman appear after they have escaped from Sonya's base. They used that portal and accidentally came here. Lex gets the rage. Green Lantern beats him up and the boss tells him about the rage. They all agree to team up and Lantern drops them off on that same street in Metropolis. Lantern heads to the Watchtower and fights Jax and Sonya. Captain Marvel shows up to tell Lantern about the rage. Take a shot every time I say rage. Captain Marvel goes to talk to the Wizard about what's happening, but Raiden is there. They have a quick chat, but the rage again takes control and they fight. After beating Raiden, the Wizard appears and tells Captain Marvel about Dark Khan. I'll be honest with you, if I hadn't seen Shazam, I would have thought this Wizard stuff was really out of place. After learning all he could, he heads to that same street in Metropolis. He gets jumped by Shang Tsung, but manages to beat him. Lex's gang shows up along with Superman, which leads to the best moment of the game. Shazam tells everyone about Dark Khan, and Joker shouts Khan, like from Star Trek 2.
Khan! 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 Shut up.
Then Deathstroke tells him to shut up. They all agree to team up. Lex sends Joker and Deathstroke to create a distraction so they can get to the portal at Sonya's base. I'm going to skip over this chapter because not a lot happens. Joker cracks some jokes and beats up Kano, Sonya, Deathstroke and Batman. He does this because he's filled with rage. Joker is about to kill Batman, but he pulls out his trusty taser and stops him. We then play as Lex, who wins 4 fights and gets to the portal and takes all the DC gang through. That is basically it for his chapter. Then the same thing happens that happened in the MK campaign. They fight each other through a slideshow. Superman is the only one left standing, so he fights Darkseid with Raiden. Superman wins. This time Shao Kahn is trapped in the DC world instead, so Superman puts him in the Phantom Zone, which I think is a lot cooler ending than the MK one. The end, again. I think I prefer the MK story overall. It didn't feel like there was as many pointless chapters compared to DC's, but maybe that's because I played it first. Overall, I wasn't a fan of this story. They fight because of the rage, and that's about it. The lack of stages also makes the world seem small. So yeah, basic fighting, gutted MK features, weird tone, and underwhelming crossover. This game had potential, but it just doesn't deliver. Time to rank it. My gut is telling me number 32. I enjoyed the act of playing through this game more than the casting of Frank Stone, so it's above that. But I think I got more enjoyment blowing up ships from Skull and Bones than fighting here, so it can't go above that. So yeah, new number 32. It's a shame this game wasn't more super, man.